Hello, and welcome to Dark Hearts with Stacy Lee. You know the drill. Please hit the like button if you like the video and subscribe to my channel if you want to support me. It really does help me break through the algal wall. I'm trying so hard. You can also join my Patreon. We are in the midst of a fundraiser, and I will talk about that at the end of the video. I don't even know what to call today's episode. I'm putting it on my Dark Stories playlist because it is definitely dark, but as dark as it is, it's more ridiculous than anything. The reason I'm covering this ridiculous story is this. I have had a tidal wave of comments telling me that you want to hear more about Mormonism, more about why we are seeing so many strange and disturbing stories coming out of Mormonism. And you also told me that you want to hear more about my journey out of Mormonism. I was born and raised Mormon. Here's the thing. Mormonism is not just a religion. In fact, here in Utah, I would say that Mormonism is a culture first and a religion second. It is so difficult to explain the culture here. Even other Mormons don't get it. Utah is very much its own world. I call it a nanny state. Everything you do here is monitored in some way or another. Anyone who says different doesn't realize they're being monitored because they're part of those doing the monitoring. Does that make sense? If I walk into a restaurant here in town in a low-cut shirt or very short shorts or dressed in something loud or crazy, I will get dirty looks. If a gay couple is holding hands in public, there is a 50% chance, probably more, that someone is going to say something rude to them. The towns shut down about 9 o'clock, and they shut down completely on Sundays. There is no purchase of alcohol in the state of Utah, except from regulated stores run by the state so they can keep all the money. You can't walk into a grocery store and buy anything but beer. My kids, who are all covered in tattoos, regularly tell stories of getting stared at and getting dirty looks in public. My granddaughters, who are being raised without religion, come home with some very interesting stories from things they've heard at school by kids who are being raised in Mormonism. According to my little granddaughter's friends, Jesus lives in the sky and watches everything you do. That was a fun conversation to try to explain to a child. No, honey, there's not actually a ghost that's spying on you and watching your every move. So in an attempt to help you understand this culture the best I can here in Utah, as I lead up to what is shaping up to be a 3-part series on my journey out of Mormonism, I want to talk about some things. I want to address some cultural issues so that when we get to my story, the story of how and why I left the Mormon Church, you will have some understanding of the immense cultural pressure that exists here. The immense pressure that anyone feels when they leave the church, especially here in Utah. The story today is more about some of the weird nuances in Mormonism and the weird ways that people skirt the rules. Of all of the things that make this culture unique, I would say one of the hardest things to describe about the Utah culture is the attitude towards sex. Sex is strictly prohibited between anyone but a married man and a married woman. That's it. That is the one and only version of sex that is allowed inside Mormonism, but that is far from what actually goes on in Utah. In fact, after today, you're going to be scratching your heads because I promise you, you're going to hear some things today that will absolutely blow your mind. These are things that didn't even exist when I was growing up. This is the story of the very recent social media phenomenon known as the Mormon Swingers Scandal. I'm your host, Stacy Lee. Let's begin. It is the summer of 2022. We're all recovering from a 1.5 years of quarantine. The world is a very different place than it was a few years earlier. And it seems that many of the social norms and usual customs are being thrown out the window. People aren't going into work every day anymore. Businesses are shutting down their actual locations and letting people work from home. People's outlook on money and life and the way they spend their time has all changed. Tik Tok exploded during the pandemic. As we were all trapped at home with nothing to do, we turned to our screens to connect with other people, and a lot of social media stars were born during the pandemic. One of the biggest is this woman named Taylor Frankie Paul. Now, I'm going to tell you right out of the gate, I did not follow this saga on TikTok. I don't follow these people. I know who she is mostly because she emerged as the most problematic figure in this scandal, which involves a large group of people. I don't know who all those people are. So if you're here for, well, she did this and she did this and he did this and he did this, I'm not the one to come to for that information. This isn't a drama channel. It's a true crime and dark stories and cult channel. We also talk about weird cultural phenomenon. So I'm definitely not the person to tell you the details of this scandal. I will give you an outline of the players involved in this story, but I am here to focus on the story as a whole and how it is very telling of the current state of the culture here in Utah. First, we have to talk about a very weird and uncomfortable phenomenon that is going on at BYU. BYU, Brigham Young University, is a college in Provo, Utah, owned and operated by the Mormon Church. Most of the students at BYU are devout Mormons, and the college has gained some very negative attention on social media because it really shows that a lot of the kids are out to lunch. There is a group of students on campus that goes to other students and asks them questions candidly on campus, and the answers that the BYU students give are embarrassing.
Let's go interview some Mormons, shall we? Would you rather have premarital sex or kill a puppy?
I guess I go with kill a puppy.
Would you rather hit a vape or take 5 years off your life?
I'd take 7 years off my life if it meant not hitting a vape.
Really? As a couple of BYU, do you guys derf?
No.
No. Would you rather drink coffee or accidentally kill a dog?
Accidentally kill a dog.
Would you rather kill a puppy driving or drink alcohol?
I'd most likely do hitting the puppy by accident than drinking alcohol on purpose.
Your opinions on soaking?
That's gross.
What would you say to people who do it?
Like, just have sex. It's the same thing.
Would you guys rather kill a kitten, accidental again, or hit a vape?
I would accidentally kill a kitten. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you rather smoke weed or take a year off your own life?
How much weed do I need to smoke?
Enough to get you really high.
I'd rather lose a year.
Would you rather accidentally run over a puppy in the road or drink alcohol willingly?
I'd probably go with the first one.
The puppy?
Yeah.
Would you rather cut off your own finger or hit a nicotine vape?
I'm probably gonna cut off a finger, I guess.
Oh, those kids are not joking. Those are their real answers. I have seen video after video like this. They are not staged. They are not fake. In fact, a few weeks after these started surfacing, these videos started coming out, administrators at BYU began running off the interviewers, and some of them were even threatened by other students. These kids are saying they would rather kill a puppy than have a sip of alcohol. That is how brainwashed they are, which is especially hilarious considering Joseph Smith was a big whiskey drinker, tobacco chewer, and Brigham Young owned a winery about 20 minutes from my house. But they don't want to talk about that part. The administrators at BYU got wind of all the negative attention these videos were getting, and they're trying to shut them down. Now, in that interview, you heard the guy ask what the girl thought about soaking. And this is where it gets very weird and very awkward. Hold on to your butts because you are not going to believe this. Because BYU students and all Mormons are instructed not to have any type of premarital sex, they think they have found a couple of loopholes. And what I'm about to tell you, this is so stupid, it actually makes me angry. To believe that people can be this indoctrinated and dumb hurts my brain. These BYU kids have come up with some methods that they believe allow them to have sexual activity without breaking the rules. BYU students engage in something called soaking, and it involves 3 people. A young man and a young woman get undressed and get into bed. The man penetrates the woman, but he does not move. Where is the spaceship today? I need the spaceship today. The third person involved then jumps on the bed or shakes the bed to create a rocking and bouncing motion. I kind of want to die right now. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of, except, oh wait, no it's not, it gets worse. So soaking, they think, because the guy isn't actually I am not the right person to talk to about this kind of shit because I just can't quit laughing. It's so dumb. It's two flesh pieces put together. It's just not that big of a fucking deal. God doesn't care about genocide. He doesn't care about trafficked kids or plagues or kidnappings or molestations, but damn it to hell, you better not put those two pieces together in the privacy of your own home, because you've been going to hell for that. Anyway, that's what soaking is, but it gets worse. Fasten your seatbelts. Actually, no, put on a 5-point restraint harness and a crash helmet for the next one, the next method that is called the poop hole loophole. In this method, the kids at BYU believe that if you engage in anal sex, you can still say you're a virgin. I smell toast. First off, virginity is a social construct. It's not really a thing. It's a purity culture load of bullshit. And you're thinking, no, it's not because of the hymen. That also is a fallacy. I'm not going to go into that today. But the whole hymen thing is not what it has been made out to be. I just don't even want to go there today. I've had all I can do already. Now, back in the time of dinosaurs, when I was a 20-year-old, soaking and the poop hole loophole would not have flown. We were told not even to kiss more than like a peck on the lips. And that was just like, not to engage in, the word they used back then was petting. Ugh. So getting naked and soaking would not have been a thing. I bring this up to show you that whatever has occurred in the Mormon culture over, I would say, the last 10 years, things have changed. And that matters because it affects our story today. This is all going to play into the larger conversation we are going to have, not just about Mormonism, but about high demand religion. Again, all religions are cults, and the more recent phenomenon of religious people engaging in very serious crime. Okay, so we've talked about all of these changes that have taken place within the student culture at BYU. Well, those BYU students graduate, they grow up, and they get married, and they get jobs, and they start having kids very quickly. And what it seems to me, and to others I have spoken about with this, is that the attitude of finding ways around the rules that started at BYU has carried on into the adult lives of young Mormons. So let's go back to Taylor Frankie Paul and her little incestuous group. So there's this group of friends that live in Draper, Utah. Draper is a suburb of Salt Lake City, and there are more jokes about what goes on in Draper than I care to talk about. The only city that's probably worse than Draper is Sandy. The people in Sandy are just a lot more quiet about it. Anyway, I had to go down the rabbit hole on this lady, on Taylor Frankie Paul, and yikes. I've been in some dark places on the internet, but her life is just sad. She lives online. She overposts, she overshares, she is in constant search of validation. I'm not trying to be mean, it's just the truth. The internet is a really unhealthy place for a lot of people. And if I had one piece of advice for her, she wouldn't listen to, but if she would, it would be to close all of her accounts and go try to live authentically without a camera in front of her face for 6 months. This woman is on social media all day, every day. So back in 2022, Taylor has this large group of friends. And when I say large, I mean like 20 women and 20 guy friends. They're all married to each other. The women are also part of what they call Mormon Mom Talk. If you're not on TikTok, every community ends with the word talk. So we are true crime talk. There's book talk. There's motor talk. There's food talk. Anyways, this is Mormon Mom Talk. These women all have Instagram pages, and they're constantly posting these perfectly curated images of their lives. All of the photos look exactly the same thing. That's the weird thing about mom influencers. It's like a competition. And that's a worldwide thing, not just a Mormon thing. But take that competition and times it by 100, and then you have Mormon Mom Talk, Mormon Mom Influencer World. Some of the very first big influencers were Mormons. We're gonna go into that too. It's just so hard to explain. The culture is so hard to explain. I can tell you that these women are competitive, but that doesn't do it justice at all. Let me tell you from an outsider perspective, I see a female endocrinologist. This woman has literally saved my life. She's from India, but she went to Harvard, and for the last 20 some odd years, she has been practicing medicine in Portland. 2 years ago, she moved here to St. George, and at one of my appointments, we always get talking, she said to me, I have been practicing and treating patients with autoimmune disease for almost 30 years. And in 1 year here in Utah, I have seen more autoimmune disease in women than I have ever seen in 25 years in Oregon. And she said, I just kind of can't figure it out. And I said, well, you have to understand, being a Mormon woman and a Mormon woman in Utah, the pressure is immense if you are dialed into that world, which I used to be. Can you imagine me like actually giving a shit what any... You guys, I was bad. You are not expected, but required to have a perfect little family, perfect little kids, beautiful house that you cannot afford, make dinner, keep a perfect house, have this beautiful Pinterest style lifestyle. You have to keep your husband happy. You have to have a calling in the church. Don't you dare put on weight or get out of shape. You have to dress nicely. Kids have to mind and be perfect little angels. You know, you run the carpool, you run the PTA, you go to city meetings. It is insane, the amount of pressure. And that, of course, causes a lot of stress. Stress leads to poor gut health, and poor gut health leads to immune disease. What else leads to autoimmune disease? Breast implants. People think LA is the breast implant capital. They are off their rockers. Utah is the breast implant capital of the world. The minute you are done having children, sometimes before, you are required basically to get a boob job. Yes, I have breast implant illness. Yes, I am getting my breast implants out as soon as I possibly can. Of all of the women I interact with on a daily basis, I am confident in saying 80 to 85% of them have breast implants. Why? Because the men here are all addicted to porn. I don't actually believe in pornography addiction. It's a side effect of being in a shame-based culture, but Mormon men watch a lot of porn. And because they're told their entire lives that sex is wrong and bad if you're not married, so they get into porn and they spend their whole adult lives thinking that that's what an intimate relationship is. It is so messed up. Then you take all of this and you mix it with the fact that Utah has the highest rate of prescription pill addiction and abuse here, along with the highest opioid addiction rate and the highest use of antidepressants in the country. It is a recipe for disaster. People here have to look happy. If you're not happy, that means you're not doing what God wants you to do. If you're happy and everything's going great, that means you're blessed. That means God loves you. If you're always struggling and always having a hard time, you're doing something wrong. So you have this great pressure all the time to drive a nice car, to have a nice house, to look blessed. It is fortune culture. It is purity culture. It is blessed culture. This is so difficult for me to talk about. I'm so deeply buried in it that I don't even know if I'm going to give you a real good look at this because I don't know how. It's a very hard thing to describe. I'm telling you that there are all these rules here and that this is such a nanny state and the BYU kids are brainwashed, so brainwashed they'd kill a puppy rather than take a sip of alcohol, while I'm telling you that all people do is find a way to break the rules, take drugs, have plastic surgery, and have this psychotic life. It's bizarre. Now, of course, you're going to have people that would sit and watch this with you and be like, oh my God, she is exaggerating. It is not like that here. It is. And if they're telling you it's not, it's because they're part of it. You pull anyone off the streets from Utah that is either out of the church or has never been Mormon, they're going to tell you the exact same thing I'm telling you right now. The only people that are going to disagree with what I'm saying are active Mormons, active Utah Mormons. So Taylor and her little group of friends that all live in Draper get together every weekend, and sometimes more often, and they start talking about how they want to swap partners. It kind of starts out as a joke about who thinks who is hot, who thinks whose husband is the hottest, and then when they get together, they start drinking, which of course is something that is absolutely not allowed in Mormonism. So think about how addictive this is. Like they're going through their week just looking forward to this big naughty party that they're gonna have at the end of each week. So one weekend, it all kind of breaks loose and they have this big group makeout session with other people's spouses. So they're basically swapping partners, but they're just kissing. Now, this is something that is very unappealing to me. I'm not trying to kink shame anybody. Do what you want to do, but I'm going to talk about my feelings. I don't personally believe that you actually love someone if you can watch them with another person. That is my opinion. You can call me old-fashioned, you can call me closed-minded, whatever you want to call me. I don't think you actually love someone if you can watch them go off with somebody else. I don't. If you disagree with me, that's okay. But I want to be transparent about the fact that this is something I don't understand, and so that's probably coloring my opinions of this whole situation. I just want to be honest about that. So what starts out as this little group makeout session soon becomes an every weekend big orgy. And rumors start to go around about like what this group is into. Like there's rumors like, oh, they're drinking. Oh my gosh, I think they're breaking the word of wisdom. Oh, I think they're, going to this cabin so they can get away from everybody and drink. And they were. This goes on for a couple of months. And while this is happening, these girls' social media accounts are just blowing up. They're all pretty. They're all young. They all live in really nice houses. I don't know what their husbands do for jobs because, most of them don't work. And they have these beautiful children. You can see why they're getting attention. But as you watch them, as I went back through and I watched the old TikToks before we knew what happened, there's just something off. There's just something off. So a couple months into their fame really getting big, Taylor starts posting TikToks, kind of like this one, saying, "My husband has a whole cheer squad." And people are like, what? Like, that's kind of weird. You've got these girls dressed in little skimpy clothes, which we'll go into that in a minute because that ain't Mormon either. But the wives and the husbands all appear in these videos together, and they're making these kind of tongue-in-cheek jokes. And then again, I don't know how this all went down, but basically they just come right out and say, yes, we're swingers. Now, just like at BYU, where they've invented the terms soaking and the poop hole loophole, they invent a new term and they call it soft swinging, which apparently means that you can be with another partner other than your spouse so long as there is no penetration. You can do everything but that. That is just... But you see the obsession with the actual penetration. Sex isn't sex in the Mormon mind. It's just that act. It's very Handmaid's Tale, which is a bummer. That, to me, says you're having really bad sex. The admission of these young moms hits TikTok really hard, but it hits Utah even harder. People kind of immediately gather into two different camps. One camp is like, I knew it. And then the other camp is saying, oh, they're not really Mormons. Though they say they're Mormon, but they're not really Mormon. Mormons get very defensive when their own people are involved in a scandal. And usually their first defense is to say that the people in the scandal are not actually Mormon. They try to distance those people. Now, they're not 100% wrong. First off, Mormons do not post photos like this. They do not drink alcohol, and they definitely aren't supposed to be swingers. The other big glaring issue is, where are these women's garments? Garments are, of course, the religious undergarment that all active Mormon adults are supposed to have on at all times. You are allowed to take them off when you shower and for an hour or so of physical activity, but that is it. That is not what has been happening. So much so that last weekend, when the church had its semi-annual general conference where you stay home on Sunday and watch the leaders speak from TV, like they broadcast it from Salt Lake, one of the big talks, one of the 40-minute long talks was on wearing your garments, because so many Mormons are not wearing their garments like they're supposed to. You've heard me say I foresee a split coming in Mormonism, and the garments have a lot to do with that. This is, again, part of the bigger conversation. When I talk about the whole Mormon thing, the garments issue has become very strange to me. When I was Mormon, you wore your garments absolutely everywhere. I actually had a woman who many years ago wanted to teach dance at my dance school. And I said, well, the teachers, this is the uniform, black leotard, black tights. And she's like, well, I can't be out of my garments for that long, because if I teach 4 classes, that'll be 4 hours. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. You have to wear this uniform. It's a dance school. And she was just like, I can't, that's against the rules. I can only take them off for an hour to exercise, and that's too long. So, I was like, well, you don't have a job here. I didn't hire her. One time I remember, oh my gosh, this is so traumatic and just so unreal. One time I wore a skirt to church with a slit in the back. This nasty, mean Karen lady, the women I used to have to deal with on a daily basis. I would be in jail now if I had to deal with these women now. This woman, I'm walking into the church. She comes running across the parking lot, full speed. This is not a woman who runs. This is not a woman who runs. Full speed at me, waving her hands like my hair is on fire or I've left my child on the roof of my car. She grabs me by the arm and then reaches down and yanks at my skirt and says, "You need to go home and change. Your garments are showing." I literally looked at this woman. If looks could kill, I just stared right through her and then I just walked into the church. So she went to the bishop and tried to get me released from my position as choir director because I had ignored her when she told me my garments were showing. I so wish I was making that up. God, that is so traumatic to talk about. It sounds stupid. It's just the humiliation, the level of humiliation and the level of control that they have over you. But anyway, in recent years, people are just not wearing their garments. They say they go to yoga class and then they walk around all day in their yoga clothes. And then people from the ward see them and they're like, "Why are you in your yoga clothes in TJ Maxx? You're not, you should be in your garments." I was actually first made aware of this issue with garments on social media because I would see all these Utah mom influencers in their outfits and I'm like, what? I'm like, you're not Mormon. You are posting these pictures. You are not in your garments all day. You're on a live for 4 hours. You're not in your garments. You're not Mormon. There's a woman named Lisa Barlow on the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City who claims that she is a Mormon. She owns a tequila company. She drinks. She wears all kinds of revealing clothing, and she doesn't wear her garments. She's not Mormon. Even as an ex-Mormon, I'm like, you're not a Mormon. But some of these people are very, very special. They don't have to follow the rules that the little peons do. So as soon as it comes out on social media that this group of mom influencers are swingers, everyone has an opinion on it. Then all of a sudden, this Taylor woman starts posting things like this. "My life is falling apart." And the next thing all 4 million of her followers see, she has 4 million followers, Taylor is packing up her house and she announces that she and her husband are getting a divorce. Shocking. Why? Because she had sex with someone else's husband. Well, they're swingers, right? So why does that matter? Because apparently in the swinging world, you have to have like permission or something to have sex. And it has to be even, like if you have sex with someone, your partner has sex with someone, I don't know. So Taylor apparently broke this rule and she started having secret sex with one of her girlfriend's husbands. So Taylor gets basically kicked out of the friend group. She finds herself ousted from everything she's ever known and suddenly she's the bad guy. She's all on her own.
We had an agreement, like all of us, and I did step out of that agreement. And that's where I messed up, and I obviously am losing everything that I have, so that is true. But I don't, like, no one was innocent. Everyone has hooked up with, like, everyone in the situation. So, like, yes, I'm getting shunned for doing that, but it wasn't like I was, like, going around, like, hooking up with my friend's, like, husband. It was, like, we were at a party, I got belligerent, and we went and messed up, like, by ourselves rather with the whole group, if that makes sense. One time. It was a one-time thing because we were so, like, gone. And that's when it like blew up. And yes, we were like friends. I was friends with these people and we spent a lot of time together. We were intimate.
All of the girls in the group hate her now. They make TikToks about her. Some of them blame her for outing them as swingers. Some of them come forward and be like, we're in this friend group, but we're not swingers. Okay. This all sounds so juvenile in high school, but it was a really big deal on TikTok and the media when it happened. This story has the ear of tens of millions of users. Tens of millions. Any network TV show would kill to have an audience that this story got. It was a huge story. Taylor goes on a live stream and says, Tate, who is her husband, has made out with several girls and done other things, and I've made out with all of the husbands and vice versa. I just want somebody to use some mouthwash or Lysol or something. I don't want to be, no, people have germs. Ew. Once Taylor came out and admitted that she'd broken the rules, there was some kind of like a drunken party at a cabin. And a bunch of the other couples admitted they had been cheating as well. And some of them actually were in secret relationships with each other. Again, this is so high school. But In some ways, it's not. I mean, do you want to end up on Dateline? Because this is how you end up on Dateline. I mean, really, this is how people end up dead. Things like this cause jealousy, and people get killed over these juvenile situations. So now Taylor has apparently fallen in love with one of her friend's husbands. He's supposedly in love with her. Now, these are women that Taylor formerly called her sister wives. The whole thing is just icky to me. Taylor then posts these TikToks of her like standing in her empty house, holding a single box, showing that she's moving out. Then she posts a video saying that her entire friend group has been sleeping together, but none of them wanted that information out there. She said the rule was you could only have sex with someone other than your spouse if your spouse was in the room. So it wasn't soft swinging. It was soft swinging unless your spouse was in the room, then you could have sex. Does anyone need a stiff drink? Because I could really use a stiff drink at this point. Taylor goes on to say that a lot of people in the group were lying, that usually the group would all be in the same room at the cabin and going at it with various partners or whatever, but that one time she snuck off with this other woman's husband and then they started having feelings for each other. She complains that she's now being shunned and that it's not fair because the entire group was doing the same thing. Taylor says the fallout was causing 3 divorces now, and she won't name who the 3 groups are that are getting divorced. But then it all gets a little bigger when there's talk that Bravo, the network Bravo, is going to pick up the whole story. I don't think that ended up happening, but that just shows you what a big story this was. So this brings us to February of 2023, and the world gets treated to this video, along with the news that Taylor Frankie Paul has been arrested.
Stop!
Hey, what's going on?
Oh my gosh.
Nothing.
She is hammered.
And so is he.
I'm sober.
But don't say about me.
Taylor,
how about we separate
Taylor,
for now?
you need to just calm down.
You don't me.
Hey, stop.
Taylor, stop.
Stop.
Just
We're not doing this.
Okay, but he threw me out in the garage.
No, because she is attacking the crap out of
You
me.
threw me in the garage.
Okay, stop.
lying.
Okay.
You can just
Okay,
go
no,
that
okay.
way. Okay. I just want to talk to you.
Okay.
Do you want to throw that on real quick?
What's up?
I just want to be able to talk to you without you two bickering at each other.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So go ahead, like you can sit or whichever.
Okay.
So what's your name?
Taylor.
Taylor. I'm Officer Rubebrecht with the Harriman Police Department.
Okay.
The neighbors called in saying they heard a bunch of yelling and
I'm sorry.
Your last name Paul.
Yeah, I'm emotionally hurting, I guess.
You're what?
I'm emotionally hurting. I'm not physically hurting. I'm emotionally hurting.
Okay. So your last name is just Paul?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't care. I pushed him. I hit him. He pushed me. I don't know what to say about it. Can I get a drink, please? Please?
Can you promise not to talk to him while we go in there?
Sure.
I just don't want anything escalating to an argument or fight while we go in there. Okay? So you went out on a girls' night. You said that, right?
Yeah, he came pick me up from girls' night.
And then what happened?
And he was me out the way home.
So when you describe that to me, about what?
I guess having fun with the girls. And he was going to a concert, but he was like, we're not going to the concert now. And he came home. And then we were fighting. And we were fighting at each other. And then I was going at him, I guess hitting him. And then he pushed me into the kids' stuff. And then I went ballistic because he pushed me so hard. And then I fought back, and then we were just fighting, and I just want him out.
Where did the kids go?
My son's right there, and then my son's up sleeping because we had my family member that was babysitting. No, Taylor, okay.
Hey,
Get
Taylor,
out of my house.
When I told you how this was going down, wait, okay, we're trying to be here. I just need that.
That's fine, but I'm just very why. I'm going to do I'm going to talk or not?
Yeah. You can just give me a second.
I'm going to do my first, so why am I under arrest? So you're going against his word against mine, correct?
I had to cut that a little bit short. It goes on longer than that, but the sniveling and the whining is just a little much for me. And I know a lot of you are like me. So I tried to spare you as much as I could. In March of 2023, Taylor's ex-husband, has a new girlfriend, because of course he does. You know, you have to go immediately into another relationship. This new girlfriend posts that Taylor has lost custody of her kids, and that she and Tate really hope that Taylor is able to get her kids back. They hope that she's in a better place soon. So that's just so fucking passive aggressive and volatile to post that personal information. But this girl posts everything about herself, so I guess I can't blame the girlfriend. As of now, Taylor is already with another guy, and they have a brand new baby together. So let's just clock these last 14 months. Divorce, new relationship, new baby, all within 14 months. Like, girl, stop and take a breath and figure your life out. You have children. You have 2 beautiful little kids. Again, why does this matter? Why does any of this matter? This is a dark story, but a little out of the wheelhouse on what we usually cover here. But it is pertinent to the overall conversation as to what is happening inside Mormonism lately. We are seeing some very dark stories coming out of Mormonism. Ruby Franke, Jody Hildebrandt, the Arizona mom that kidnapped her son, Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell. It's a lot. And like I said, when I asked, you guys gave me a resounding yes. You want to hear more about this. So here is what I think is happening. There is a group of Mormons that simply do not want to follow the strict rules of Mormonism, but they are so deeply ingrained in the culture of Mormonism that they don't know how to get out, and they don't want to get out. Why? Why don't people want to leave the church? I'm going to talk a lot about this when I talk about my own story. There is no way that I can explain to you what leaving the church is like. There just aren't words. You have been taught and raised since the time you can talk that you are the chosen people. You are the most special on earth. You are born into a goodly family with goodly parents that have been so faithful in the pre-existence before your earth life that they get to be Mormon. You are the best of the best. When you leave, it is assumed that you have turned so evil, or you have done something so bad that the devil has taken over. You are seen as someone who is too lazy to follow the rules, or too selfish, or too stupid to know your place. You are seen as an outcast, as a pariah. There are literally people that will not be around you, physically around you, as if you have something that is contagious. I wish I had words. I wish I had words to explain to you what it's like to leave and how hard it is to leave. And that is a big reason why a lot of these Mormons, they're thinking, well, I've heard the real story about why we don't drink alcohol. Active believing Mormons believe it's a commandment by God. People that have studied history know that it was actually a domestic dispute between Joseph and Emma. Emma liked coffee and tea. Joseph liked whiskey and tobacco. Emma didn't like cleaning up the spit off of the floor, and she didn't like it when the men got drunk, so she banned it from her house. So in retaliation, Joseph said, God said no more coffee and tea. Now that truth is out there in the world because of the internet, for many, many years, these stories were kept secret. The documents, the journals, the writings of people that were actually there back in Joseph Smith's time, they were hidden from Mormons. But now that they're out and Mormons know the truth, they're like, I can still be Mormon and drink. I can still be Mormon and have a smoke, or I can still be Mormon and have, smoke pot, because they did. Joseph Smith did. Brigham Young did. They don't want to leave because it's hard to leave. And they don't want to lose their standing in the community as an active Mormon. People like Taylor and Tim Ballard and Lori Vallow and the Lafferty brothers and all the other weirdos, they don't want to lose their spot in the We Are the Most Special Club. They don't want to follow the rules, and they don't think they have to now that this new information has come out. It used to be, in my time in Mormonism, if you didn't follow the rules, you were tossed immediately. But here's the thing, and this is so important. The Mormon Church, because all this information, this historical documented information has come out showing that a lot of the teachings of the church cannot be true, the Mormon Church is hemorrhaging members. There are tens of thousands of people leaving every year. So the Mormons cannot afford to kick people out like they used to. They need those numbers to stay up. They want the world to believe that the church is still growing, and the church is not still growing. The church is decreasing in membership. It used to be very hard line. You broke the rules, you were excommunicated, and that is not the case anymore. And these people like Taylor Paul, they know that. You can do a lot of things now and stay a member of the church. Well, anything but speak out against the church. They will X you for that in a heartbeat. If you speak out against the church, you're gone. I left the church on my own. I would never give them the pleasure of excommunicating me. They did excommunicate Tim Ballard. I mean, they don't publicly announce that, but there's no way they denounced him and then didn't X him. Women like Taylor would normally, back 15 years ago, they would be in a lot of trouble for posting in their little sexy outfits and posting that they're drinking. Now, not so much. So because the church has had to lessen its excommunication policies, members feel more free to break the rules while still calling themselves Mormon. And this is where I foresee a split coming. The Orthodox Mormons are going to stay in the church as the church has existed now for the last 100 years. But I think there is going to be a new group that breaks off and still claims to be Mormon, but they drink and they don't wear their garments and they have tattoos. There are already people that are doing this. They call themselves Mormon 2.0. I mean, the real problem with that is there is no Mormon 2.0. You're just not Mormon. You're not. I really debated as to whether I wanted to talk about this today because it's such a juvenile, trashy subject, but it really does play into why I foresee a split in Mormonism. And because so many of the stories that we've covered in the last couple of years deal with Mormons who have gone off the deep end, and you guys have shown an interest in that, I decided we'll just talk about it. This one day we'll kind of veer off the rails and go down a different road. I don't know if what I've told you today has been helpful or not. I'm just trying to talk about the scandals around Mormonism so that when it comes to the bigger conversation, we have maybe a better understanding in our community as to why Mormons are going off the deep end. There are so many nuances in Mormonism. It is just really something that you have to experience, and it's very difficult to explain. I don't know if I did a good job of that today. If I didn't, I hope you at least enjoyed the crazy story. If nothing else, maybe it made you feel like your life is a lot less dramatic than this. You're a little happier now, knowing that your life is not the shit show that these people's lives are. You know, my friends, there are days when knowing that your life isn't as bad as somebody else's is a win, isn't it? Some days knowing that you're a little more sane than the person next door, some days that's a win. Thank you for joining me today on Dark Hearts with Stacy Lee. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to support me. You can also join my Patreon. We are in the midst of a fundraiser there. For a couple bucks a month on Patreon, you keep the videos coming. It's supporting the channel. The fundraiser is separate. This is the thumbnail to the video on my playlist that explains the fundraiser. We are raising money to donate to police departments that have cold case DNA in storage that has never been tested because there's no money. You don't have to donate 20 bucks. You can donate $1. I would love it if everyone donated $1. Thanks for hanging with me today for this crazy story. I hope you're well. It's springtime, summer's around the corner, and I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you a little bit better. Stay safe, my friends, and be kind to each other. And I will see you next time on Dark Hearts with Stacy Lee. Bye.